From the humid subtropical plains just 59 meters above sea level, the land pitches violently upward, terminating at the 8,848-meter summit of Mount Everest. The global imagination links this country entirely to its high-altitude peaks, yet the people who actually live here are actively leaving those exact peaks behind. For generations, surviving the Himalayas meant carving narrow, rocky terraces into steep slopes to grow barely enough food for a single family. This 3D topographical map of Nepal illustrates the modern solution to that hardship. Down here, in the narrow southern strip known as the Terai, an area comprising only 17% of the national landmass, you will now find over 53% of the country's 29 million citizens. Meanwhile, looking back up into the hills and the northern Himalayas, 32 individual mountain districts are currently experiencing absolute population decline. The country with the steepest elevation profile on Earth is effectively becoming a flatland nation, shifting its demographic center of gravity to the southern border to survive. The physical isolation and unpredictable climate shifts of the high altitudes make traditional agrarian farming a highly vulnerable way to live. Conversely, the southern plains and a few concentrated valleys offer centralized roads, cross-border trade routes, and a comparatively high standard of living. This line chart tracks Nepal's historical population growth. As millions of families migrate downward and outward, transitioning to environments with higher living costs and new employment demands, they are choosing to have fewer children. In the most recent census decade, the national growth rate plunged to just 0.92%. This migration is actively decelerating the country's historical demographic expansion, resulting in the slowest population growth Nepal has recorded in 80 years. The migration into the flatlands altered the way Nepalis earn a living, starting with the cultivation of these expansive, fertile fields. As this GDP bar chart reveals, agriculture is no longer the dominant force. 76% of the modern Nepalese economy is now completely detached from farming. Looking closer, nearly 62% of the country's total economic output is driven entirely by the service economy. Historically, delivering reliable public infrastructure across thousands of scattered high-altitude settlements was nearly impossible. Concentrating the population into dense urban squares and flat plains finally allowed the government to build cohesive networks. With schools and clinics finally accessible to the dense majorities, national literacy has climbed to 76%. Youth literacy has surged past 94%, and the average life expectancy has reached 71 years. By trading isolated mountain homesteads for connected urban centers, Nepal has successfully transitioned its workforce from subsistence farmers into an educated, modern, service-oriented population. If the population has evacuated the high Himalayas, it raises a critical question. Do these massive, freezing, inhospitable peaks still hold any value for the modern state? The mountains haven't been discarded. Instead, they're being utilized differently, shifting away from prioritized habitation and toward energy generation. The Himalayas function as the water towers of South Asia. They hold roughly 6,000 individual snow-fed rivers, all packed with massive kinetic potential as they flow downward. By placing dams across these steep, rocky gorges, Nepal is actively harnessing the extreme vertical drop of its own terrain. This infrastructure boom has pushed the nation's installed power capacity well past the 4,100 megawatt mark. This line graph maps the historical expansion of the national power grid. Driven by that surge in hydroelectric generation, the curve arcs sharply upward, bringing electricity access to a near-universal 99.1% of the population. This creates a highly efficient macroeconomic loop. The emptying mountains generate the power required to run the sprawling, concentrated service economies in the plains below, with enough surplus power remaining to export to neighboring countries. Nepal hasn't abandoned its mountains. Instead, it has weaponized its own gravity. The harsh, extreme geography that once restricted the country's development is now the exact engine powering its modern future.